Welcome back to yet another episode of the Tunes and Tales Podcast. I'm your host, Jay. This is episode 15. Welcome. Thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll make this one quick so we can get right into the episode. The usual, if you want to follow us on social media, you can follow us on all the social medias, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever social media you use, we're on there. Just go ahead and follow us at Tunes and Tales Pod. Wherever you want to listen to podcasts, we're there as well. We're on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe. And we got an email if you want to send us questions or just email us, whatever. Go ahead and send that to the email. All right, so let's jump into today's episode. Today on the episode, we have my friend Ty. We kind of dive into his coming up in school, being one of the only black kids in an all-white school, his love for sports, his love for music, and a lot other things we discuss and dive into. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, Ty. All right, so welcome to the podcast, and what do you want to talk about today on the podcast?
Music and how it really sort of fits in with such times of your life. You know, it's so funny, like even the the song for me, or just even the lyrics, like it mattered so much that I got it tattooed
Mm,
on me. And so, yeah, it's something that's so really pivotal, and even years and years later, like it's still really meaningful. And it's funny because it's really like an ode to myself, and it's something like for me to really keep reminding myself and telling myself. And so, yeah, man, years later, like I'm still really, happy with it. It still sort of resonates all the same. And yeah, even the story about how like I came across it was kind of weird
mhm,
and not something that I
mhm,
thought I was
mhm,
paying attention to in
mhm.
terms of the song or the message. Not even something that I thought I was into that like genre. Yeah, it's just funny how life
All
works.
right, perfect. So for your episode, it's gonna be a little tricky because, like you said, I feel like the song and the lyrics is all intertwined and kind of like the significance of it.
Yeah.
So for the at least the first part of this podcast is I understand it's gonna be tricky to kind of like not say the name of the song because that's the whole point of the podcast.
Yeah,
But we'll get through it. We'll get through it.
yeah.
So kind of let's dive into what the song helps you with. Like, does it help you get through something or like a moment in your life, or just like it's like a feeling it produces? What does it do for you?
Yeah, I think it's just a reminder to with just kind of moments of doubt, and for anybody who's, I mean, been through something, or just, just a
Most
regular
people, I
kind of
hope.
trapping, yeah, right? Like,
Right.
but just the regular trappings of life. You have these moments of kind of self-doubt, and I think it's just a reminder for me of where that comes from, and to, sort of get out of my head, with it, and really kind of take time to like kind of center back.
Mm,
Um, and it's really nice in moments that like I really need it to sort of come back to. And yeah, I mean, I have it on me, but even sometimes when I really need to hear it, I'll play it, and it's been like years since I've like heard it, and it's really nice that it can kind of do that for me, still.
right. So, what are I would you know I guess you don't have to be super specific, but like, are there any moments or like put it this way, what was like kind of, if you can remember, what was kind of like the first time that song, again, we won't reveal it, but what was kind of like the first time that song kind of like was there for you?
Yeah. So I wrestled in high school. And I don't even to this day I don't even know whose like CD it was or anything like that. But
Mm-hmm.
when we were wrestling and or having practice and kind of doing all this like cardio and going through moves and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, we would play this CD that had like a mix of songs on it, and it belonged to some kid. And there was a few different songs on it. And I mean, that song wasn't the only one that stuck out that I, kind of took from that, but
Mm-hmm.
it was one that, yeah, I don't know, for some reason, I guess subconsciously, like the words
Right. Right.
were kind of just like sticking around because otherwise it wasn't a song that was like, oh, like this is a great beat or like there wasn't anything sort of super memorable about it other than that. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't I don't quite know when the transition took from like then to like me actually always kind of playing it or what have you. Like I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but um yeah, it just kind of resonated with me and was always something that I would like, hey, that's really poignant. And yeah, at a time that I sort of needed it and needed to have it as a reminder is I think probably when I went and got it tattooed on
And
me.
it started to become
And
significant. And
yeah, and I mean, again,
yeah.
it still is really significant. So
All right. Perfect. So we're gonna jump off a little bit. And you said you did wrestling.
hmm
So how were you good? Be honest. Are you good? Terrible?
yeah, I was actually good. And it was funny is, kid from the inner city. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know anything about it as like a sport. I knew WWE, you know what I mean? And
Right. Right.
the coaches sort of like, I don't know, I think was trying to get people who were like athletic and just like look like they could y- just try it, had like a lower
Mm-hmm.
center of gravity type deal. And I went for it and tried it, and actually I was like really good at it for someone who had no kind of like background. It was just kind of like winging it. Um, and so yeah, that was something that was uh like cool to do, and still have some friends to this day who were from
Uh-huh.
that team. And so yeah, shout out to the prep wrestling team.
The preference. So was it all 4 years? Was it high school? He said.
I didn't do it all 4 years, but yeah, I did it in high school. And yeah, actually, what's funny is, I mean, not in nowhere near that kind of peak shape now, but
Mm-hmm.
you got like all this MMA stuff out there, and you try to, keep in shape with, a busy
Yeah.
schedule. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should like try out for one of these like MMA classes, see if I still got it. But I don't know. I'm like,
I don't think
I'm a
you.
little too old
I
to
don't think
break
you wanted
something.
problems.
Yeah, like that's just not what I want to do.
Yeah,
So.
dude. I mean, so now I'm like, because I work a busy schedule, like like 70, 80 hours a week,
Mhm.
and I still want to go like do boxing classes or
Yeah.
like like jujitsu or something, and then I'm like, do I really like? I can just work out by
Yeah,
myself, man. I
no,
don't
for
need.
real. Like I
I
go to
don't
the
need to.
gym and I'd be like, how much long on this treadmill? And I'm
Yeah,
sitting
bro.
here thinking I could
Like,
do some like real cardio like that.
right now, I'm supposed to go sign up and get punched in the face. Nah, I
For
think I'm good,
real.
bro.
Cause yeah,
I
let
think
me
I'm
pull
good.
up to work with a black eye or,
Right.
more reasons to go to the doctor. So
Yeah. All right. So, it, did sports play like any role in your like? Did you do a lot of sports growing up, or
yeah,
did you
I'm
watch a lot of sports?
yeah, and really kind of unregulated, just, like being outside and, you all just kind of are picking up stuff, and then weirdly you're kind of good at this or whatever. But no, it definitely kind of kept me out of trouble, kept us all out of trouble really. And uh and then so it was cool because we were kind of coming up playing sports, and then to see when we got to high school different people sort of playing some of the same things. Like I think
Mm,
like freshman year, all of us at the different schools we went to all played football or something like that. So,
right. Right. Right.
and yeah, whether it was something that we did all 4 years or that it went outside of, high school or what, it was definitely a good foundation. But then especially for me, being from, the inner city and then going to this like predominantly white, prep school. That really, sports really kind of wound up being this like commonality between me and
Mm,
these people who, were all kind of thrust into this new thing together, with different, cultures and backgrounds and stuff like that. And
right,
so,
right, right.
that's certainly what it's always, really kind of been and meant for me. And what we can sort of get out of it.
Yeah. See, that's funny you said that because I do feel like I'm an immigrant, so I moved to America. Well, two times, but I officially moved to America when I was like, let's say 12, 13, like end of middle school, beginning of high school.
Mhm.
And I was never officially on like a school sports team, but I would enjoy going to the games. Like it was the first thing that made me feel like, all right, I'm not a weirdo, I'm not an outsider. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they like it, I like it. You know, we can work with this. We can do something with this. So it's funny you said that. So what was it like going from inner city school to you said a predominantly white school?
Oh
So
man.
if you can remember, how was that?
Yo, I hated it my freshman year. Well, so it was all boys school too, and so
Oh no.
that was like something to get used to, and it was just such a big culture shock for me. Um, yeah,
Well,
that
sorry, I mean cut you off before you talk about that. How do you even get to like go to the school? Like, what was like a parent school program? Like, what got you there?
so the middle school I went to, this was like really, I kind of always say like the beginning of like the big like charter school movement. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and they
Mm,
weren't even like, that wasn't even, I don't think, like a name for what they were at the time, but it was kind of this weird like public private mix. And their whole thing was that, they kind of lauded themselves as having sort of these. So the school was called Link, and they
mm-hmm.
kind of put themselves out there, marketed themselves as having these sort of connections to these, uh, prestigious high schools, whether they were, schools in the state or even kind of some schools up in like the New England area, like some of the boarding schools like Phillips Exeter and
Mm-hmm.
schools like that. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, it was kind of weird because like they went around to like, it wasn't just Newark, but it was, like a few cities. And I think they kind of handpicked the kids that they wanted, and maybe
Mm,
had a little bit of a bell curve going on. But a good chunk of us from that school ended up going to, these are Jersey schools, but like the Seton Halls, Del Bartons, Morristown Beards, Pingree, Lawrenceville, like some pretty, name recognition, kind of schools from there. Um, and so, yeah, I think in my year was me and another kid, but even the year before me, because this was only seventh and eighth grade at the time, there was
mm-hmm.
a few kids who had went to the school that I go to now, and even the grade below me, a few kids. So we had a little mix, kids from our school at the prep, but at some of the other schools too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, how big was the school you went to? If you
Probably
remember,
like 60 kids, because again, it was like seventh and eighth grade, so it was,
uh huh.
literally just
So it
like,
wasn't okay,
yeah, it wasn't
okay.
big at all. And
Because
I mean, now
I
they're
went to
they're huge.
no, sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 I'm just, now, things have changed, so they literally have like the charter in their name. I think they've added like
They
a
have a budget
whole
now.
elementary school component to it. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, because my high school is what the whole high school like was like 250 kids.
wow.
So yeah,
We had
yeah.
that in like a
So
grade. Yeah.
right, that's why I was curious. All right, so you get to the school. What was it like? Like, was it awkward? Like, what was the atmosphere when you first got there?
Yeah, when I got to high school, yeah, a lot of sort of, um, just going through it. But I mean, I think we were all 13, 14 years old, even for people who had came from, these kind of suburban towns. I mean, for some of them, even if they had, you know, people of color in their, towns and neighborhoods, I mean, they certainly weren't used to people who came from, the inner city. And what was interesting was that even though, over the years you had people who you connected with naturally or in classes and stuff like that, lunch was always still very segregated. And
Oh,
so
really?
that was
Oh,
interesting.
no,
Like,
wait, time out. Was there a black table?
oh hell, dog, there was a black table at breakfast, and like we didn't move that far for lunch. And it's funny
That's
because there
fucking
was like
hilarious.
a group of people who would always be there, like, early in the morning. Like maybe they took the bus or their parents dropped
Hmm.
them off. So we had a little group in the morning for like breakfast, and again that was like still segregated. Um,
You're right.
and then obviously at lunch we kind of hung out with who we hung out with. And so it's funny because yeah, you had your sports or maybe even classes and stuff like that where you certainly mingle with other people. But yeah, those sort of like friend groups was kind of what they were.
Hmm.
But again, you had people from so many different areas, uh, too. So that was such a mingling, which I really appreciated after the fact because I really got to travel a bunch in high school to all these different towns and, kind of meet so many different people. Like, so it's funny because freshman year I was like, oh, there's no girls, I hate it. But I always say I probably met more girls just between like some of our sister schools or people
Hmm.
that I was friends with and people they knew and hanging out in this town and da da da. Than I probably would have if I just went to like sort of my local, high school and just knew people in that
Right,
area.
which just makes right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, all right. So the before we move off the school aspect, what? Because I've never been to an all boys school.
Yeah.
Right, came close in Jamaica, thank God. Like it's just, but I can imagine it's all boys. You guys are at the age where guys starting to become men. Like,
Yeah.
so what was the environment like? Was it like? Because in my head, I just see violence.
Yes, no,
You know
that's
what I
it.
mean? Like, so is
That's
it
it.
actually violence, or am I just making that shit up?
Yeah, I mean, yo, we were, especially my friend group, we were
Uh-huh.
just real rambunctious. I'm sure they hated us so much. Like we kind of joke. I mean, because yo, what tuition was when we were there versus what it is
Uh-huh.
now. I'm like, yo, they were like, we tired of these black people. Let's up the cost. Like,
What's
but
up, God?
yeah, we were really rambunctious. But no, I mean, actually, like we ended up really appreciating it because I think the connections that we got to make with each other were really just kind of what they were. And I mean, I don't want to make this sound like this just happens at any sort of regular high school, but
Mm.
we didn't have sort of girls getting in the way of, sort of friendship
That's what I
or,
was. That's what I
somebody
was
trying
saying.
to
So
seem bigger and badder than they are.
right, there's no
I'm
like crushes or like competing for like attention or.
I mean, there still found a way to be some,
Oh, really?
mingling of sorts, but
Okay.
that was outside. And yeah, I
Right.
mean, yeah, moving
Wasn't during
around in
school
some of the
hours.
same, yeah, moving around in some of the same kind of spaces. Yeah, that happened. But even then, there might already been friction between like this group or that group, or even if two dudes was talking to this one girl, like that probably was like squash or just not something people that not a situation that people were like that crazy about too. So,
Right. Right.
I mean, it's
Okay.
not to say that those didn't happen, but we just didn't have that as a thing that was just so like front and center. And so, yeah, I mean, everybody had their little groups, but I definitely think that we all got to, really bond. And again, a
Hmm.
lot of those guys, I'm still like, I have a group chat with a bunch of them. Like, we're still like really good friends, to this day,
That's
which
dope.
is
That's dope.
awesome.
That's dope. All right, so we're gonna switch gears a little bit again.
Yeah,
So I know you do a blog, what you expect.
yeah,
Let's talk about that a little bit. What like? Oh, I know what it is, but for
yeah.
people listening, watching, what is it?
Yeah, we've had a lot of different iterations of what you expect. Started off as a podcast, and
Hmm.
then really kind of blew into, kind of all things black culture, all things sort of, music, entertainment, sports, a lot of the things that sort of, black Twitter and stuff like that really kind of
Right.
intersects with. And what's funny that you're asking about it. We have, so what's funny is like we had a group chat originally, and then off of what you expect, and then even through like different ebbs and flows of like content or whatever, the group chat is still, a functioning thing. I have to tell them that
Mm-hmm.
I was chatting about them, but um
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I mean, I think it's something that, and then we kind of split up a little bit, and so there's a low key R&B group that kind of splintered off, and they kind of focus on all things R&B, and kind of breaking that and keeping that as a thing, because certainly as an R&B
Right.
lover, it certainly needs its focus. And then we kind of were doing a little bit of like a sports betting side too, and so I think people are in like such a big state of flux and a lot of things going on with life, but we all still have that bug, and so I'm sure when things calm down, we'll, go out and attack it again, and just try to do things a little bit better, that
Mm-hmm.
we can like keep it and be consistent with it, because I mean, you have a podcast. Consistency is maybe the hardest thing, but is really sort of the name of the game
Right.
within that.
All right. Yeah, no, that's true because this is like my third, maybe fourth. I think my fourth attempt at a well, consistently doing a podcast because
Yeah.
I've tried probably like I can't tell you how many podcast ideas just popped in my head.
Yeah.
Like, because you think everything you think is unique. Like, oh, that'd be a great podcast. That's me. Like every fucking 5 seconds. Oh, that'd be a great podcast. But this is like my fourth attempt at consistently doing a podcast, and I can say like I don't know, like all of the ones before, they were. I was happy to do them. I was enthusiastic to do them, but like this one feels right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't mind doing. I enjoy doing the interviews. Actually,
Yeah.
it's my favorite part. Like my least favorite part is actually the editing, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I've done it so much now. You know what I mean? I've done it so much now. It's like I have I have my strategies and pre-save stuff, so it's good. But yeah, no, I agree. So for what you expect, just so I understand a little bit, how many people were on the team or are on the team? Like,
Yeah, we had a lot. So again, so we did. So there was like the different podcasts.
mm-hmm,
Shout out Liberalist. Shout out In the Weeds. In the Weeds is actually still really going on strong. Shout out Kev.
mm-hmm,
I had something of All the Hills, which I've had people like, hey, you need to bring this back. So I'm thinking about ways to really kind of bring that back or repurpose that, do that different. And then we had a lot of written content. So whether it was stuff about sports betting or just pop culture, politics, you name it. So yeah, there were some people who just wanted to write, some people who wanted to write and do sort of podcasts, and so it was, and then obviously the music side, which had always gotten a lot of traction too. And yeah, we had some pretty like viral-ish moments and huge moments, and so again, I think the thing is that we kind of felt like, all right, like this thing is successful, people will enjoy it, but then how can we do this in a way that we don't get burned out, from it? And
mm-hmm,
so
mm-hmm.
it's a good problem to have, and yeah,
Right.
I know we'll kind of get back to it at some point, because we were all doing this. Like no one was really, making anything crazy out of it. So obviously it was, for the love and for the interest. But yeah, we'll
So
get back to it for sure.
would you guys ever consider going full barstool? You know barstool, right?
we, I know Barstool
I know it crossed the mind. I know it crossed your mind
well.
because I've been on the website a couple times and I'm like I see what you guys are doing. You know what I mean? Like, and I see the potential to be at that level.
Yeah.
But I will say like it has to be something you guys all want. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
so.
honestly, and that's a huge thing. That's a huge point about just, I think honestly what people want to get out of it, and if people are on the same page with that, and if they're sort of unison in terms of how to get to, just the next step, not in terms of like success, but in terms of people's time. Like, right now we
Mm-hmm,
all have kind of 9 to 5s, and we're trying to make it
mm-hmm,
work, with that, or just keep our heads above water with that.
all right.
People are in, serious relationships. Actually, since like we had the start of like the group chat part, I
Mhm.
think three guys have kids. Like
Oh,
didn't when we started this,
yeah,
and
yeah.
like are
Families exist now.
engaged, married. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like, and that's a good thing to sort of have, but I think that's the really cool thing about um being able to jump back into that because I'm sure a lot of that stuff is still floating out there. Like we can now talk about these things as to like where we
Mm,
are, currently. Um,
all right.
and so yeah, I'm even if it's something that people just kind of split off and do their own thing. I mean, again, we talk every day, like we're all still family,
All right.
and definitely support what everybody's doing. So, yeah, I've certainly been thinking about getting back into it, just trying to figure out with like what oath was, and even stuff like last week was lit. Different things that I
Mm-hmm.
used to do that I liked doing, how to sort of fit that
Mm-hmm.
in a way that I can do it to be like disciplined enough to be consistent with it.
Right. Right. Right.
So
Yeah. No, I get it. You said they're all starting families. Like,
that
dude,
has.
within the last 2 weeks, one of my cousins got married and my sister got engaged last week,
Wow,
and it kind of
congrats.
hit this switch. Thank you for her, but seeing all that or hearing, I'm happy for them. It's good news, but it kind of switched the system. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? Like, I'm getting nervous, man. I'm like,
So I have I have four sisters,
uh-huh.
and three sisters, sorry.
Mhm.
Two are like have children now, two like little sisters, and so like the heat's there, like yo, when is
Bro,
your time?
me
And I'm
too,
like,
dude.
yo, can we listen? I'm just living vicariously being Uncle Ty. Like, let's get good with that first before we move over here. Like, we don't even gotta press
Yeah,
this
dude.
button this fast.
My mom, every time I try to see my mom at least once a week, every time I go there, she's like, "So, any girlfriend? Like,
So,
any prospects?" I'm like, you don't need to know that. You don't need to know that. All right. So, are you ready to get into your song?
of course, yes.
All right. So we're gonna take a quick break and then we'll be right back.
So my name is Tyrone Foster, Ty Foster, whole mix of nicknames. And my song is "Open Your Eyes" by the band Guano Apes.
Guano
So
apes.
yes, this is a I don't know what you alt rock band. Actually has a female lead singer, and
Like Paramore.
kinda, but like a little bit more like on a grungy-ish side.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And
Okay. Okay. Okay.
actually, like I've checked out, obviously there's that song, "Open Your Eyes," but I've checked out a
Mhm.
few of their other songs, and yeah, like there was a lot of stuff that I liked. So I was like, all right, shout out the, that might be a little cheat code with the, you got the female with the kind of grungy like voice. She can kind of go a
Yeah.
few
Yeah.
different, ranges and octaves, leading the band. So,
Yeah. How do you say your name again?
well, the
Guano
band's name
apes.
is Guano Apes.
Uh huh.
The lead singer is like Sandra something, like,
Yeah,
yeah,
but the song is by Guano Apes, like
yeah.
the
The
band.
band's name is Guano Apes,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
and the
Okay.
song is
All
called
right.
"Open Your Eyes."
Open your eyes. Okay. So this part of the episode, I ask all my guests why that song.
Yeah. So again, just so the chorus of the song is what I have tattooed on me, and so the part that I have tattooed on me in the chorus goes, "Open your eyes, open your mind, proud like a god. Don't pretend to be blind, trapped in yourself. Break out instead. Beat that machine that works in your head."
Mm,
And so, again, that's something that has just always been really poignant to me in different times of my life, going through ups and downs of, just kind of having that self doubt. And, for me, um, there was certainly when the song came into sort of my focus, but you kind of take it on and it really sort of means something different to you. And so I think for me, coming from, an inner city and, all the places that I've gone, and, you hit these highs and then you sort of crash into, just like life shit. And it kind of, you start to doubt yourself. Oh, like, um, but I think it's a moment to just recognize that this sort of, and I guess the same thing can be said on the other end of like extreme grandeur and big
Mm-hmm.
headedness, but just kind of remembering that this has been a whole journey here, and that I've overcome things before, and you kind of keep on the path and keep strong, and really kind of knock that doubt away. That's just kind of this
There.
machine that's in your head, and sort of beating that and overcoming that is really sort of the whole, what get knocked down 7 times, get up 8 times, or whatever the phrase is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, sorry. I completely I get it because it's funny that dealing with self-doubt or like, lack of confidence for me is one of my biggest issues. Like
Hmm.
sometimes I just get so fucking like I just don't feel confident. But
Yeah.
when I get like that, the song for me is I don't know if you ever heard it. Like J. Cole from His Mistake. It's like I Get Up.
Hmm.
Oh my dude, I put that song on. It's like it makes me feel so much better instantly. But nah, I completely get it. Completely get it.
Yeah.
So apart from the song, how do you like is self-doubt like a constant thing for you, or is it, occasionally, or and how do you deal with it apart from opening your eyes?
um in different levels, like
Mm-hmm.
I think anytime you've like come up against sort of, whether it's anxiety or and sort of some of these like small doses of like, oh, you could be interacting with a person, or you didn't do that great on this like homework assignment, or you missed something at work or whatever. Like, we all
Right,
kind of
right.
have these like little, moments there. But no, I mean, I've had, some kind of bigger events, and I think as you've gotten through some of those, I think you've kind of gotten over that enough to where like, all right, if this thing isn't that, and if I made it through
You're
that,
right.
then like,
All right.
all right,
Be
everything else
alright.
should be easy to handle. But no, I mean, I think it certainly has helped me to just try to always keep like an even keel. I think even at work, dealing with, a lot of the different stresses of that. I think people have always kind of noted that about me, is that, I kind of can keep composure well, and, really not get too like agitated about this one thing or what have you. And I think it's a testament to kind of that song and that quote, and just really, um, trying to keep that in my mind at all times. And it's not just about like a self doubt thing, but it's really also, again, on the other end of like not feeling myself too much, just trying to be a little bit of both. Like, the highs don't define you just the same way the lows don't define you, and being
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in the middle and being able to compartmentalize all of those things, really is sort of, I think, the key, for sure.
Yeah, dude, I'm listening to that and I realize we're complete opposites because, because dude, I get so I do struggle with lack of confidence, but on the flip side, oh Jesus Christ, I can get so cocky and just not even like intentionally.
Yeah,
It's
no.
just like you know what I mean? It's like either or, man. It's like I'm really up there, or I'm like, oh Jesus.
I mean,
So I
no, I get that. Like,
uh,
and it's nice when I think you blend it all together, right? Like,
mm,
um, especially when you've had these sort of moments of sort of lows, or but then when you sort of couple them, I think it helps you to sort of blend them all together to know, again, kind of like I was saying, like, you're not your lowest part, but
mm,
even the highest thing, like you can like you're somewhere in the middle. And I think you have these, um like, I would characterize it as me sort of currently, the way I understand it
mm-hmm,
is like, I think you just have things that fit you, right? Like, and I think that was something that I needed to learn, like, kind of going through life, that some things just weren't a fit. Like, it didn't mean that I was like, oh, terrible or whatever, like I can't
mm,
do anything, but maybe this environment or this task or just whatever I was doing isn't a fit for like what my skill set is or what like I do best. And I think going through both the highs and the lows have helped me to really kind of understand sort of what that like best fit is.
Right, right,
And
right,
and it's been cool. Like, yeah, you certainly get like big heads about things. I mean, that's natural.
right.
And if anything, it's like I want to try to find more of those sort of situations where I'm in something that like I do this well and I enjoy this. Kind of like what you're saying about like podcasting and how you've done all these different ones and all right they're cool but again like they aren't fits for you and now that you found something that fits a lot more it doesn't feel like work and um
Mhm.
and I think that's sort of applicable to just so many different situations and things
It's
in
so
life.
true. Yeah, that's so true. All right, man. So we're about to start wrapping it up. Towards the end of the podcast, I like to play this game called On the Spot. So on the spot is pretty much where I give you three different scenarios, and just quickly off the top of your head, you have to just blurt out a song that you think applies to that scenario.
Okay. Ooh,
Make
this
sense?
is interesting. Yeah.
All right. All right. So let me know when you're ready.
Ready?
All right. First one. Um, Bases loaded, ninth inning of the World Series. What's the song you are walking up to?
Uh, Start Hard Drake.
Sorry, what? One more time.
Start Hard Drake.
Stunt Hard Drake.
Yeah.
Never heard that one.
You gotta. It's one of the old like kind of throw. Yeah. You.
Is it mixtape Drake or album Drake?
Ah. It's like Drake, Wayne, and I think like Kid. So this is like I think maybe like a little early in his like Young Money
Kid
days.
Kid?
Yeah.
Like
You gotta play it
Louisiana
after
Kid
this.
Kid?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I haven't heard Kid Kid in a minute, dude. That's crazy. All right, next one. Let me see. If you could make everyone listen to the same song, what would it be?
Uh. Hmm. Ooh, that's a good one.
It's tough, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna say,
I know there's a song popping up. Just say
yeah.
it.
I'm like trying to choose between a few. Um, let's go with "I Gave You Power," Nas.
Ooh, fucking love that goddamn song, dude. Love it. All right, last one. Go back in time to listen to a song for the first time again. What song?
This is the first song that I like memorized the words to. And like I almost maybe even chose it for this, but just because like the memories that are like really associated with it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but Renegade, Jay Z, Eminem.
Okay, great song.
Hmm.
Great song. Did Eminem really kill Jay Z on that song?
All right, so
Cause hear me out. Hear me out. Popular opinion is
yeah,
that Eminem did, and I'm not saying his verse was terrible. I'm not, but he didn't kill Jay Z.
no, 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 no. And so here's the thing with that too. So a little bit of like inside baseball for people who don't know about that
Mm-hmm.
song. So the song was originally Royce and Eminem
Right, I know
Renegade
that.
on
Yep.
was it Bad Meets Evil, like the first thing that they did
Mm-hmm.
together. And
Yep.
then Jay liked it, wanted it for his album. And so Eminem's verse is the same verse. I mean, the little things change because like there's no like ode to like Royce in it and all that. And then obviously Jay adds his piece. And I
Right.
didn't know this as like a kid when I like first liked the song. Um, but yes, I've heard that a lot, and obviously, like Nas used that in his diss or whatever to
Right, right.
Jay, and that's always been
Eminem
a
killed you on
bar.
your own
But
shit.
if you
Yeah.
go back and listen, like Jay doesn't have bad, like that's not a bad
That's what
verse.
I'm
You know what I
saying.
mean?
That's what I'm saying. Because if you listen to just like common, not like people talking regularly about it, you would swear Jay-Z got like just fucking destroyed. I'm like, guys, he held his
Nah, it
own, man. I'm
wasn't.
not
Yeah, it
saying he
wasn't that
won,
bad.
but he wasn't like crushed.
No,
You know what I mean?
no,
Like,
no.
like,
And I mean,
so.
for a dude who did songs before this with like Biggie, Meth, like
Mhm.
all these sort of like big time people. I don't think he. I mean, again, Eminem is one of the great lyricists, great
Greats,
like
right?
artists of all
Yeah.
time. But I don't think that's the thing that he's worried about getting washed on.
And you know what? That's so right. Like as a culture, I feel like us normal people care, but I feel like behind closed doors, they're like, all right, what's the next song that I'm getting paid like what 100,000 a verse for? Like, I
Yeah.
don't think they give a shit, dude. But no, I agree. I agree. But yeah, man, that's the end of the podcast. Before we go, is there anything you want to say to the people listening or watching?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, keep tuning in to this great podcast. Diversify your music, uh, for sure. That's
Hundred
something
percent.
that has really helped me throughout life. Because again, you wind up with some rock lyrics on your chest
Yeah, dude.
when
Yeah.
so you just never know where music in general can sort of take you and all that. So yeah, keep being tuned into music. Go back to listen to old stuff that was before you. Stay tuned into the new stuff. Like there's a lot of new stuff that I like, and I really don't like when people get old person on their lawn about it. Like you were a teenager once listening to stuff that your parents didn't
Yeah.
understand. You gotta let the kids have their thing and
Yeah.
go from there. But yeah, man.
Side note, I will say, side note to that, I feel like I'm getting like that with rap, dude.
But yeah, and I was just gonna
Oh,
say like I
and I'm really trying not to. I am like I try to listen to the young boys, but I just like I can't, bro. It's just don't sit well with me. Like I
yeah.
feel like J. Cole, Kendrick, that era is like the last. Like maybe Corday now, but even he's not getting the respect I think he should. But like I don't know, man. But R&B, it's different. Like I actively look for new R&B artists, so it's weird. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah, and
know.
oh, definitely for the group. I mean, please go follow Low Key R&B everywhere
Mm-hmm.
you can. Obviously, what you expect, will be, back. Follow us everywhere too. But yeah, R&B, and especially because it's not as easy to necessarily come across. It just doesn't get the same sort of public uh, sort of environment that rap does, and so yeah, any good publications that are tapped in can certainly help you find. But yeah, R&B is in a really good
Facts.
spot, and even though
Mm-hmm.
even though he got Biggie and Pac killed, Puff's album is fire. It's fire. Like I I
You
forgive
said I
him,
got Biggie and Pac
like
killed.
because that album is fire. Great R&B
Is that a
album.
hot take or is there evidence to this?
Oh man, look, he's sweating about this Keefy D thing. Like,
Hey, man, I'm gonna stay out of that one. But thanks for coming on, bro. I really appreciate it. I had fun talking to you today.
yeah, thank
And
you for
thanks
having me.
again.
This was a blast, man.
All right, my guy. We'll
Yeah.
talk later.
All right, bet.
All right.